the 37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
Welcome, everybody. If you're here, you probably already know it's the Pixelated Paranormal Show. I don't really need to introduce ourselves anymore, I guess.
Well, I don't know. You may need to introduce me because people don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah. If you guys haven't heard, we have a new co-host. His name's Rob.
Yeah, Rob from Pixelated Radio.
Oh, man. The triumphant return of the co-host formerly known as Rob.
We found him in a...
We found him and said, you remind us a lot of this one guy we used to know. About 3 episodes ago.
we found him on the side of the street with a sign that says, "We'll podcast for Legos," and we're like, hey, let's get him.
Yeah, he'll do it in a pinch.
Yeah. We'll brick for food. Well, buddy, welcome back. We're so glad you're back, man. We missed you.
Yeah, I just want everybody to know that I didn't quit the show. I just, unforeseen circumstances, some crap-related work and such, and then you guys just did 2 shows without me, and after that...
Yeah, your microphone just couldn't catch a break. I mean, it caught a break, I guess, but it couldn't catch a a break.
Yeah, that's what it was. I had some stress at work one week, and I think the mic broke down when I tried to record Pixelated Radio that Sunday, and I was like, son of a bitch. And so I
tried to fix it with fucking Legos.
Yeah. No, that wasn't when it was broke. That was that was just the leg stand had broke, which is what broke the whole thing eventually, so... Yeah.
It was the start.
But now I have a pop filter.
Ooh.
Pop.
Ooh.
Fancy. I think we're all going to be upgrading our hardware here pretty quick, so that's going to be exciting stuff.
I don't know if I upgraded. I'm pretty sure I downgraded, but we'll find out.
Yeah, you get a pop filter, man. That's good enough. I've got a blue foamy thing over mine, and fucking Preston just got the new Yeti, so good for him. Good for you.
It records in stereo, THX.
Well, I suppose we got through the pleasantries. Why don't we just jump on into the news?
Yeah, let's do that. So the first up is a kindergarten teacher put on leave for using a Ouija board in class. A Milwaukee kindergarten teacher has been placed on leave after she reportedly used an Ouija board in her classroom. Milwaukee Public Schools removed the unidentified teacher from her classroom Tuesday night after a parent complained about an incident that happened Friday at Zablocki Elementary. The teacher used a board as a prop while telling a scary story. Now, basically what the teacher said was that, she had a lot of kids ask questions about ghosts, ghouls, and goblins, and she thought that it would be a safe way to answer all their scary questions. So the kids would ask, like, Mrs. Smith, are ghosts really real? And she would get the Ouija board out and she would move a paperclip around and be like, no, ghosts are fake. They're part of your imagination. And apparently one kid got freaked out by all the stories.
Well, I'm offended.
Why?
Because ghosts are real.
Well, yes, this is true. But the whole point is, like, what the fuck, America? Like, What, when I was a kid, I was watching, like, Aliens and Predators and, like, all the scary shit. You didn't see me fucking complaining about nightmares. Because a teacher uses an Ouija board in class, we gotta get a mother with her panties up in a wad.
My panties are in a wad because you keep calling it an Ouija board.
An Ouija board.
An Ouija board.
And can you say kindergarten one more time for us?
Kindergarten. But that's my thing. That's what I do, and that's why you keep having me back.
I know.
No, we can keep having you back because we can't get you to leave.
Oh,
that's true. Yep. Put out one saucer of milk, and the kitty cat won't go away. I don't know. That's kind of silly to get. I think it's kind of silly to get offended by the use of a Ouija board, but.
Well, I mean, it sounds like from the story she didn't actually use the Ouija board.
No.
Right.
It was just kind of a prop. I mean, if she got out the Ouija board and made a student come up and use it with her, that's kind of, I can see somebody getting offended, especially, where'd you say this was at? Wisconsin?
Yeah.
That's not even
Milwaukee.
That's not even like the religious part of the country, the Bible Belt. I mean,
yeah, Kansas is in the Bible Belt. I mean, like.
Yeah, so it's, it just seems like, I don't know, that's just, she didn't use it, she was using it for a prop. I mean, Do you get offended and not shop at Walmart because they sell Ouija boards? I don't know if Walmart even sells Ouija boards anymore, honestly, but I know at one time they did. I know Target does.
You can get them at Toys R Us.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I don't know how I feel about Ouija boards. I've dealt with them in the past, but, I haven't done it in years. I know Sean's a wuss and won't use one at all.
No, I'm not a wuss in the fact that I won't use one. I don't think I need to use one at all now because the freaking neighbors we had back in El Dorado, they used one, and as soon as they used it, of course, all the paranormal shit hit the fan in our apartment, so I don't discount they do what they say they do at all. I think it's full-hearted truth, man.
It's kind of like playing Russian roulette. You just, you're just kind of like a roll of the dice. I mean, sometimes you can use one and probably, nothing ever will happen or, come of using it. And then you get that one time where you fucking use one and then all of a sudden you unleash like Satan or the spirit Zozo in your house. And then you're like, why the fuck did I do this?
Yeah. That's the same reason why I wouldn't get in the fucking pentagram that time either. No thanks.
Well, you were just being a pussy that night.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of silly. People need to really calm down a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the harm if it's just a prop, man. If she didn't make some kid grab the planchette and move it around, I think it's okay.
No, she used a fucking paper clip. She didn't even use a real planchette. Just a paper clip to move it around while she was answering the questions for the kids.
Oh, man. She could have summoned that shitty ghost of Clippy, the Microsoft paper clip. Oh, goody.
So for my next story that I found, it's also from HuffPost.com. Now you can give your oral sex long distance by licking your phone. When it comes to oral, maybe it's time to start phoning it in. Smartphones allow people to check sports scores, send emails, watch cat videos almost anywhere, and now you can perform cunnilingus just by licking your phone. That's the idea behind Ocast, a new digital marketplace that allows people to upload simulated oral sex sessions that can be downloaded onto a vibrator via Bluetooth. And if you don't like using your tongue, you can use your finger too.
What if I don't like using my finger?
Well, use your tongue. It'll measure the vibrations for about 60 seconds in length, and so you can mouth anything onto your phone via your tongue, or like if you want to write out like the alphabet with your finger, and like Rob, for instance, could write love Legos, and then the vibrator would vibrate to that. The vibrators sell for $100 a pop.
Gross. I don't know, man. Like,
so people say that they give us a hard time for all of our like robot sex stories and robots in the news, but goddamn it, they're stealing everything from us. They're stealing our cunnilingus. They're stealing our sex lives. They're stealing our jobs.
Well, speaking of robots stealing our jobs,
coming at you from the 37th parallel, from the basement of a mad scientist, it's more fantastical tales of robots.
I just seen this story today. Where did it go? Burger flipping robot on his first day of the job has already stolen some jobs. So basically, a California restaurant has started using a robot that flips burgers and cooks hamburgers up. Now, granted, after they cooks the hamburgers up, they got to take the burger to a human worker who puts the condiments on it. I mean, honestly, what kind of robot are you if you can't put mustard and ketchup on a burger? I mean, that's a pretty shitty robot. I'm just going to come out and
How much does the mustard peasant position pay?
Put on my mustard, peasant.
Skin sack mustard me.
But they said this is just the first day on the job, and they said it's a learning robot, so it will learn how to cook food faster and better. And it did say on the first day of the job it was doing better hamburgers than the employees could do. So I don't, that could be all subjective too. It's like you see what you want to see. But They talked about it being used later on for other types of jobs as well. That'll be trained, programmed, whatever, to do other types of jobs at a restaurant. So there you go. Our burger flipping job days are coming to a close. The Industrial Revolution has taken minimum wage away.
So
thanks, Obama.
If the robot will learn as it goes, will it eventually get to a point where it just calls in because it's tired of the bullshit at work?
Yeah.
Guys, just can't come in today. Please understand.
Sorry, boss. I just can't even.
I have a terrible cough. Cough, cough, cough.
I think I caught a virus.
Oh.
No! That's how the Terminator
We could probably get about
started.
30 more seconds of shitty robot puns in before we really get tired of ourselves.
So, but they speaking of other traits that well, I guess other jobs that robots are taking as well. In Washington D.C., they rolled out the delivery robots. There's a couple of companies that got together and they deliver. They have this robot that's. They say it's got a red flashing light on it and it makes a little beeping. It doesn't make. Wait, no, it doesn't make any sounds. But it does have like red flashing lights on it, and it just drives the sidewalk and gets out of the way of people and stuff like that, or waits for people to get past it. And basically, it'll deliver a lot of different items to you that you want from different restaurants. You'll get a text saying, "Hey, your food's on your way" by robot. They text you a key combination, so you type that in, and that opens the device and the robot that gets your food or book that you may have ordered or whatever else. And they've rolled these out in downtown Washington D.C. Now, there's not a very long radius on it. It's, like I said, it's downtown, but it's kind of an interesting way to look at it. I mean, the robot revolution is definitely upon us.
I just can't wait till the delivery robot gets turned into Johnny Five from Short Circuit 2.
Los Locos.
Los Locos kick your ass.
Los Locos kick your face. Los Locos kick your balls into outer space.
Hell yeah, that's what I want.
So
I want my Amazon pizza delivery robot to have a mohawk.
Yeah, so they can't even steal your food, because there's a key card. I was wondering how they were going to do that, because how long do you think until somebody just snatches one of these little bastards up, just drives by, opens the door in the white van, get that robot, throws it in the back and goes?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, all kidding aside, they put those chips in our debit cards thinking that was going to be the best thing ever, and then all of a sudden, they've already got those things hacked. I think people...
Yeah, and now they're the biggest pain in the ass on the planet.
Yeah, they really are. I think the thing is, we're at a point in technology and society where people are hacking things as fast as they're hitting the market. So I mean, they're going to put this thing on the street, and somebody already can probably just drive by and hack it remotely via Bluetooth.
Yeah, I don't know. But speaking of robots taking our jobs, they're also apparently taking our anxieties as well. A art project in California, basically they built a robot for an art project, and they put it in Coachella Valley in California, or Coachella, and let it basically, but its whole entire function was to avoid people the entire weekend. And so they've programmed this robot to notice people and to avoid them. And it even got so good that weekend that eventually it would even avoid drones trying to fly around and see pictures and take pictures of it.
Does not compute.
Really? Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
So it was...
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it had learned to avoid people the entire weekend. I mean, of course, it got caught a few times, but, if it seen people, it just turned around the other way. And did a pretty good job of staying out of the limelight. I think that's kind of neat. At the same time, it's very scary because now we're training robots how to hide from us.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's the sad thing is they could never actually finish the experiment because they couldn't catch the robot.
Well, they did have a GPS locator on the robot, so the robot couldn't escape them because they knew where it was at. But could you imagine being like, we're right at the spot where the robot's at, and they're like, I don't know where he's at. And then you see the GPS chip laying there on the ground. Oh, no, he's gone rogue.
I'm picturing Predator 1, but instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's the robot. You're like, guys, where is the Experiment Bot 7? And then all of a sudden, this raises up behind you covered in mud and leaves, throws a tarp over you.
Everybody get to the chopper.
Like, wait a second, I could have swore he was right here. And then just a fucking rope comes down and nooses your guy up and takes him away.
And then he takes you to. Then he starts singing "Los Locos," kick your ass and kick your balls into outer
That would be my luck. That'd be my luck.
My God, the delivery robots from Washington D.C. and the Shy Bot from Coachella Valley have joined forces.
A big rope net just drops down and snags us.
It's going to deliver some whoop ass that you'll never see coming.
Oh, that's too good. Yeah, it's kind of scary, man, because if you install that kind of technology into your drones or whatever, then how are you ever going to know they're even there? I mean, that's to say it's not already going on. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, man.
No, not at all.
Doomsday prepper.
Well, hell, have you seen that the Dynamic or Boston Dynamics have put wheels on their robots, and then fucking things are even more terrifying than they were before? That thing was
Really?
jumping over things, and I'm like, it's going really fast, and it'll get down like a skier, and I'm like, we can't outrun these things anymore. We can't hide from them. You know, they can hide from us. We're dead.
You're just going to have to carry around like buckets of water balloons, and when they get too vicious, just hit them with a water balloon to short circuit them.
I can see it now. I can already see the headlines. Robots attack America. Then they play the sad music, and you see this pop up on the screen with the eagle crying and the flag up in the background. It says 1776 to 2017.
Well, from going from robots, I'm going to go back to fish and talk about mermen. That's right, the merman of Brazil is what I'm going to call this story, but in reality, it's just a really cool story about a burn victim. Apparently,
Merman, man of the sea.
Yeah.
That's just Fred. He got burned in a fire.
Yeah. So he just looks like a fish. In Brazil, there was an electrician who suffered really bad second-degree burns from an accident, and when he went to the ER, he was then recruited to be part of I guess you'd say, a test panel, I guess. But essentially what happens is doctors are finding new ways to treat secondary and third-degree burn victims with fish skin.
Oh my God,
Have
that's
you guys heard
awesome.
about that? Yeah, it's really freaking great, man.
I don't think Sean heard what I said.
What's that?
You didn't hear what I said, did you? I said, oh my God. That's why they keep me here, folks. I just killed Sean.
I gotta start it over. Okay, so in Brazil, doctors are finding ways to treat burn victims with fish skin instead of actual Band-Aids and normal grafting methods. So there's an electrician in Brazil, and he suffered second-degree burns from an accident. And when he rolls up into the hospital, the doctors say, hey, we're doing a study, and we think you should be in this trial. And essentially what they do is they clean and sterilize tilapia skin, and they put the tilapia skin over the burned tissue, and it causes the skin to heal much faster than typical Band-Aids and gauze. So they go to these tilapia farms where there's a surplus of the skin from after they farm the tilapia and ship them off to restaurants and whatnot, and they're able to take the skin, sterilize it, clean it, rid of any virus or potential contaminant, and then they can take that skin and put it over top of the burned tissue. And the plus side of this is that by using the fish skin, it doesn't have to be removed for the duration of the 9 to 15 days for the treatment. Essentially, the fish skin gets applied to the person's damaged skin. It then seals off any infections, any contaminants, anything else. And once the skin starts to heal around day 13 or so, the skin of the fish will just dry up and fall off the human host. Yeah, and underneath, it will just basically be very bright, pink, vibrant, stretchy, elastic human skin.
Do you know in Canada, when they treat burn victims, that a lot of the hospitals in Canada have adopted pyramids in the top of their burn units? So, like, they're just like these giant glass pyramid-shaped buildings. And they did a study that showed that when they placed the burn victims inside this glass pyramid, it helped the body heal quicker. So a lot of times when you go to Canada, you'll see like these hospitals with like weird glass pyramids on top.
Huh, that's really neat. I didn't never heard about that. I know that pyramids... What?
I said we got fish skin in Brazil or wherever you said, and then we got glass pyramids in Canada. Get your shit together, America.
Well, basically, the treatment can take 9 to 11 days. Once they apply the fish skin, it never has to be taken off. So you don't have to change the Band-Aids, the fish skin, like you would a Band-Aid every other day, which means the skin heals faster because you're not ripping off the gauze and taking off extra tissue that's trying to heal. It seals off, locking in moisture, which promotes the proteins to stay where they're at and multiply and cause the skin to grow back. The guy that they interviewed said that he didn't take any pain meds or antibiotics for the entire duration of his treatment. He said the first day hurt like hell. The body was trying to act like it was going to reject the fish skin. But essentially, the next day he woke up, he had zero pain from the burns. There's no sign of infection, and essentially he was able to start his physical therapy a lot faster, and the skin is already beginning to scar over like it's supposed to on day 13.
And how many days?
13 days.
Oh, I thought he...
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, the average time it'll take is going to be 9 to 11 days, of course, give or take a couple days in there somewhere. But yeah, they've got a 52-patient trial going on right now. And their biggest reason is, in this part of Brazil, there are no, I guess you'd say, what would you call those, like skin depots? That sounds super shitty.
Come on down to the skin depot.
The worst problem with signing up for a study like this is actually when they set you on fire and give you 3rd and 2nd degree burns.
Right.
Because that's got to be hell.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because you'd be like, you always see those ads for come to Metasphere, and do our test study. You're like, okay, cool, money. It's like, yes, we're going to give you $10,000, but first, we're going to burn your ass alive. So that's going to be fun.
Right. Oh, well, the money's good.
Come on down to Sean's Skin Depot. It rubs the lotion on its skin.
Or it gets the fish again. Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool, though. But yeah, basically, this kind of treatment can be used in parts of the world where you don't have skin grafts and all the luxuries you might have, in a first world country. So pretty freaking fantastic. Well, Rob, that should segue perfectly into your story, huh?
Yeah, so you're talking about the merman of wherever, and I'm talking about the mermaids of Zimbabwe. So, apparently this story comes out of Zimbabwe, where 2 students of Gaines... it says they were 2 students of Gaines Elementary School, but then they said they're out herding cattle, so I'm not sure if that was just saying, hey, they went to this school, but after school they were herding cattle. And this comes from one of their buddies. They said basically they seen a mermaid in the water and they thought it was a big fish, and they jumped off this dam, and the mermaid basically was not a big fish and pulled them underwater. So the boy ran and told the family what was going on. The family rushes down there and finds the 2 boys on the dam, alive, scared, and trying to cough up water or whatever, and the people started cheering and were happy to see that the person survived. Apparently that's bad in mermaid culture. The mermaid then came out of the water and grabbed the kids and actually drowned them this time.
Ugh.
And in front of the onlookers, supposedly. And so the kids were drowned, and because there's a big belief in mermaids and stuff in Zimbabwe, they thought it maybe was some kind of demon, and they decided to cook up some cattle and eat it without salt as penance, as a sacrifice, so the demon would leave, so to speak.
That's your shitty penance. You have to eat steak.
Well, they cooked it up without salt. So,
oh, heavens to Betsy Ross.
I mean, so, yeah, so don't... So if you ever get kidnapped by a mermaid, don't be happy afterwards that you lived. Be sad. Be like, I wish the mermaid had killed me, because you might live. Because if you show any kind of excitement that you survived the mermaid attack, they will come and fucking drown you. I'm telling you, this is...
Dicks.
This is terrible. So,
but if you do survive, you get an all-you-can-eat steak buffet. So, I mean, let's weigh out the options here, kids.
Yeah, I mean, it was two kids. I mean, they could just grow 2 more.
They can just grow 2 more.
What else is there to do in Zimbabwe? I mean, their money's practically useless.
Wow.
Any hate mail, please direct that to Rob Henderson at Pixelated Paranormal.
I don't think you know what my name is, sir.
Let's keep it that way. Look at this hate mail. Now, when did that happen? When did the mermaids come down?
Bitch, I don't know.
Or come up?
So let me get this straight. I get abducted by mermen, merladies, and I survive.
Why do you go straight to getting abducted by a merman, Rob? Or Preston?
February 19th.
follow me here for a second. I just want to make sure I understand this. So I survived this ordeal. Now, when they put me back on land, I should be like, you know what? Fuck you, mer people. I should have been fucking dead. You guys fucking suck. And then they'll be like, okay, peace. But if I'm like, yeah, merman, they'll drown me.
So this is what the story actually says. The witness must have called or ran for help because adults, including the parents of the boys, eventually showed up and began crying. According to local mermaid lore, that was their big mistake. It's bad luck to cry after a mermaid incident, and bad luck is what happened. According to Chief Namawagi, the adults, including the parents, saw the mermaid return and pull the boys back into the water again, this time holding them under until they drowned.
Nice. What a
So
way to
don't say
go.
anything when you get back. Just nod your head and be like, bye-bye.
Oh, bye-bye. So they had to miss out on the steak buffet, huh?
Well, I mean,
Unsalted steak.
unsalted steak, nummy, nummy, num.
We'll go ahead and get into the guts of the show, which I think our theme of today's show will be genitalia.
Just tell you what's going on.
You took my joke. I was going to make a pun about, come here and let me genitalia something. So, to start things off, Shayla and I just got back from Eureka Springs again. And that does not have to do with genitals in the beginning. But
Oh,
stick around, folks. We'll get to it. So this was, our second time of going to Eureka Springs. And this time we actually got to experience the town for what it is. And it's pretty freaking great. Pretty damn great, in fact. We stayed at the Basin Park Hotel, which is the second most haunted hotel in Eureka Springs, apparently.
Wow, so there's another hotel that's more haunted?
Yeah, the Crescent. Yeah, the Crescent is the most haunted. It's one of the most haunted in the U.S., from what I understand. But the Basin itself has a pretty haunted history too. But first I should probably give a shout out to T-Rex, this really sweet retro toy store that I was in while we were there.
I love that store.
Yeah, it was a pretty badass store, and it's funny because you walk in, and like I was telling you guys, it's tons of retro toys, tons of really badass stuff. I mean, Ninja Turtles in the packages still, He-Man in the package, Thundercats. I haven't seen a Ghostbuster in a package since I was probably like 4, and it was everything in me not to spend $60 on this Egon figure. No, this Ray Stance figure. So I almost
I had all those figures as a
fantastic.
kid. That's crazy.
And these were the fright ones where like you
Right.
squeeze their arm or their legs and like their heads get all big and stuff.
Peter
It was
Venkman had
fucking
arms
great.
that would like spin around like 360 degrees. Egon,
Yeah.
Egon's head would like he had a tie on, and his like his
Egon's tie
his
would
eyes
raise
would
up.
bug out.
And his hair would go up too. His little pompadour would go up.
Yeah, and I think
Then
Winston's
Winston's
head
head
turned
would
all the way
spin.
around 360 degree spin.
Yeah, and his mouth got bigger. Yeah, man, those things were freaking awesome. And it's funny because I had such a nostalgia trip in there. Like I was telling you guys, 30-year-old man, and I walked in there, and like after 10 minutes, I literally like almost started crying. It was just so fucking glorious. But
The He-Man figures? Oh.
I'm in there like on one knee taking a photo of this Thundercat display he has set up, getting ready to send it to my brother and to you guys. And one of the co-owners, he was there, and he turns around and looks through this outcropping in the wall, and he's like, "Hey, man." And I was like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" He's like, "Taking a lot of pictures." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, man. Sorry, just kind of admiring the collection here." He's like, "You writing some kind of article about us or something, man?" And I was like, "No, I'm just taking a lot of photos. You got a lot of cool shit in here that I haven't seen since I was like 4 or 5 years old." And once I made the comment, I was like, "Yeah, I was born in '85. My brother's born in '81, and haven't seen this stuff for a long time." Then we hit it off pretty well, and he's like, "Oh, that's cool, man. My brother and I were born around that time, and he and I own the store, and blah blah blah." So
Oh, that's kind of weird that he was
so I'd give a nice-
worried about you writing an article, though.
I don't think it was so much that. I think it was him basically just having an icebreaker to be able to say, "What the hell are you taking so many pictures for?" Because I can't even imagine what that collection is worth, man. It's not priceless, but shit, it's got to be worth a ton of money. And I think that was a thing of like, just kind of protecting your investment and wanting to know why I was taking so many photos. But I just told him it was just sheer amazement, and I was just really, really jealous of what he had. But we got to talking, and it was really funny because he's like, yeah, people come in here and they look around and they think it's really cool, but nobody buys a lot of stuff because, the stuff we have it priced at what it's appropriate to sell for. He says most people walk in, comment on how cool the stuff is, and then they buy an art print before they leave, and we don't sell any toys, as much as we want to. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can understand that, sure. I left and went back like an hour later.
Because you're like, I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah, I left and came back an hour later, and I bought this really badass Bigfoot art print. And on the way out, I was like, I am an asshole too, because I did the same thing we were just talking about. But yeah, cool shop. You ever go to Eureka Springs, Arkansas? Go into T-Rex, bring some money with you. It's a really cool place, man. T-shirt, local art.
Yeah, I could buy something because we know Sean's not going to.
If I go back and they still have that Ray Stantz figure, it's going to be mine.
I like their redneck versions of all the Marvel characters. On their art prints.
They had tons of them, man. They had Mario Brothers and everything else too. Yeah, I'll put a link up to their shop on our Facebook because they got some pretty neat stuff, man. But yeah, shout out to the guys at T-Rex. The place is pretty badass. But let's get back to the haunted stuff. So we stayed at the Basin Park Hotel, right? One of the most haunted hotels. Blah blah blah. And I tell you what, we had 3 actual encounters happen while we were there, and we didn't get that. Yeah, we didn't get that. We didn't get that when we stayed at the Crescent, but we actually had some stuff happen in our room. So whenever we go to old hotels,
the ghosts are up in their game. We're going to be the number 1 haunted hotel in town.
Well, they're actually coincidentally they're owned by the same people. They're like sister hotels now. But whenever we go to an old hotel, I always take my my flashlight and I look behind like the nightstands and under the bed and stuff like that, just because I'm paranoid about bugs and stuff. And I walked over to the nightstand, the one nightstand you had, and in this hotel room, you have like, when you walk in the front door, there's like a little living room with a couch and a table and stuff. Then you go into the bedroom, and then you go into the bathroom. So there's like 3 separate rooms. And I go in the bedroom, and I'm looking around a little bit, and I pull out the nightstand drawer, and I shut the drawer, and I look around some more, and I go back in the living room. And then Shayla comes out of the bathroom from putting up like our shampoo and our stuff like that, and she's like, "Did you pull this drawer out?" And I was like, what? And so I go in there, and the nightstand drawer has been pulled back out all the way. And she's standing like several feet away from it. I never heard her pull it out because it makes a noise usually.
Right.
So yeah, something had pulled the drawer out of the nightstand. So that was kind of neat. And then the next day, Saturday morning, we went out and did some shopping. I got the art print. We watched the Mardi Gras parade and had some coffee and some gumbo. It was pretty great. Anyway, we take our shopping paraphernalia back to the room, and again, I'm paranoid about hotels, and this door had like 2 deadbolts and a chain, and I locked the main deadbolt and I threw the chain up because I didn't want like the maid to walk in or anything like that. So put the chain on the door, we put our stuff up, go in the bedroom, and then like 5 minutes later I go back into the living room, and the freaking hotel room door is standing wide open.
Dun dun dun.
So yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Nothing terrifying or frightening, but I do find those 2 instances to be pretty strange. So yeah, I thought that was kind of neat. But Saturday night, we took the token ghost hunt tour at the Basin. It's called the Spirits of the Basin, and I want to give a pretty hearty shout out to Bobby and Charlie. They were our tour guides that night, and just beyond the actual tour guide. The tour, those guys were pretty freaking great. Really nice guys, really funny, really intelligent guys who had a lot to talk about. But we took the Spirit of the Basin tour and we walked around, and it's really funny. You start at the roof of the hotel and you make your way down, like I think it was like 5 different floors, and they tell you a little ghost story on each floor that happened.
Right.
And he tells us this story about the most common ghost they have there is the woman in the white dress. And they say that, plenty of guests, men and women, on different floors have all reported in the middle of the night waking up to the sensation of the blankets being pulled off of you. And if you look up, it's going to be a woman in a white flowing gown trying to get into bed. And it's typical Scooby-Doo reaction. You go, what? Or you go, ah, shit. And then she looks down and sees you, and she screams, drops the blankets, and she runs through the wall and disappears.
That's odd.
I thought that... Yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool story. You don't usually hear about, the ghost reacting to you and getting scared. So We get about halfway through the tour, and because we're in Arkansas, he's like, all right, guys, we're going to stop, take a break, tell you a little story, and then we're going to toast the spirits, and we're going to give you guys some good old-fashioned 92 proof Arkansas rye whiskey. So you could have your choice of either having the whiskey or having fruit juice. And so I, of course, took the shot. And I hadn't drank for like 5 weeks probably by then. So I was a little, lightweight. And Shayla didn't want her shot. So, of course, I'm not going to let good, rye whiskey go to waste. So I took both of our shots. And we're walking around. And it's funny because we're making our way down to this cave. The final stop of the tour is this little cave underneath the hotel. Right. And the whole time we're there, of course, Bobby's like, all right, guys, now, if you feel faint, if you feel sick to your stomach, if you feel odd or sickly, let me know, because that could be a sign of a spirit trying to enter your body, or you might be having an experience. And we're like, oh yeah, great. So we're sitting down there in this really small, like bathroom-sized cave, and all of a sudden I'm like, and I'm like, I'm moving around, and like my stomach's hurting. And Shayla leans over in the middle of this guy's presentation. She's like, "Are you feeling all right?" And the tour guide
sounds
goes, "Wait."
excited, like, yeah, man, you're gonna have.
Yeah, she's like, "Are you okay?" And the tour guide Bobby stops and he's like, "Wait, what's going on?" I was like, he's like, "Are you not feeling good?" And I'm like, "Well," and he goes, "Okay, tell me how you feel. What's going on? How do you feel right now?" And I'm like, "Well, I just had 2 shots of your 92 proof whiskey, so it's kind of hitting me, man." He goes, "Oh," and he starts laughing. He's like, "After 2 shots, you're feeling that way?" And I was like, "You ought to see me after 3."
That's a terrible joke.
So I know he got really excited thinking that I may have been possessed, but no, it was just me getting the case of the tipsies. So that was pretty funny. But
that whiskey.
Yeah, we hit it off pretty well with him, and I'm hoping to contact him in the future and maybe get some more stories for our show. I told him about our show, and we both were kind of equally excited about each other's projects. But anyway, you fast forward to that night, and Shayla went to bed around like probably 11:30 or midnight, and I'm just wide awake, can't sleep. So I think, you know what, screw it. We're in a haunted hotel. I'm about a tenth of the way through reading Stephen King's It. I'm a grown-ass man. I'm going to draw a bubble bath at 1 o'clock in the morning and sit in the bathtub and read It in a haunted hotel, because that's what you do.
I don't think you're supposed to ever sit in a bathtub in a haunted hotel, or in a hotel, period.
Yeah, trust me. I definitely considered it before I got in. But so I read my book, started getting tired, went to bed about 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, enter experience number 3. I fell asleep, and I woke up at whatever time it was, and I didn't have my glasses on, but I roll over, and I'll be damned if right beside the bed is the silhouette of a woman wearing a white gown.
Dun, dun,
and
dun.
I got the cold sweats, and my heart starts beating really fast. And something that one of the people in our group had asked Bobby and Charlie was, "Hey, if you scream or you look at her and startle her, she'll run off. Has anybody ever just remained calm to see what might happen next?" And he's like, "You know what? No, nobody ever has. Everybody just reports that they get startled and she gets startled and runs out." And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to see what the hell happens when this lady tries to get in bed and I don't, fight her or anything like that. So I'm laying there and I'm just staring at her, and she's just standing there, and like her gown's kind of flowing, and she's just staring at me, and I'm like, well, come on with it, because I want to go to bed if nothing's going to happen. Give me a freaking break. And then I think, hang on a second. And I grab my glasses off the nightstand, and it was the damned light post shining through the curtains onto the wall. The air conditioner is right underneath the curtains, so they were kind of spaced apart like a triangle, so the light shining in casted a triangle reflection on the wall, and because the AC was on, it was causing the curtains to waft, and so it looked like this flowing ethereal gown was just blowing next to me. I got pissed off and went back to sleep.
Oh, that's funny.
It was pretty good. But, so we had also taken the Fireside Ghost Story tour as well. We went up to the Crescent and did that whole thing again, and that was kind of fun. But anyway, we're down in the morgue of the Crescent, and that's where Dr. Baker, of course, did all his dastardly experiments on the cancer patients and stacked up all the bodies in the morgue and in the meat locker and all that. And it's kind of a small group, and we're sitting there talking about how Norman Baker, got on his own radio show, and he ended up getting exiled out of the U.S., and he had to buy radio tower in Mexico and broadcast his bootleg Borderland radio show into the U.S.
Norman Baker, not in Trump's America.
So, like, the tour guide and I are talking about that, and one of the guys in the group, he's like, you know what? That kind of sounds like the old goat gland doctor. And I was like, the goat gland doctor? What the hell's that? And he's like, I'm not going to talk about it in front of everybody here. But he's like, look it up sometime. Check out the goat gland doctor. So I was like, what the fuck is that? So anyway, it brought up a brand new story similar to Baker's in a way. And that is the story of Dr. John R. Brinkley. And have you guys heard about that guy before? John R. Brinkley was a charlatan doctor who traveled around the U.S. I think as early as 1907 is when he first started going to college to be a doctor. And he checked into the unaccredited Bennett Medical College, whose curriculum focused on eclectic medicines, which were basically alternative medicines, different stuff that's not too medical as far as surgeries, basically herbs and spices and everything else. And like most doctors, this guy went to college for damn near 10 years, except for he never actually graduated. So he studied his eclectic medicines with the particular focus on glandular extracts and their effects on human systems. And essentially what we should talk about is glands and goat glands. That means goat testicles, for all of you guys keeping notes who didn't know. So,
goat
yeah,
glands,
this guy went to college.
It's more likely than you think.
God, you're an asshole tonight. Yeah, so basically the guy went to college off and on for the better part of 10 years. He would go to college long enough to let the tuition kind of pile up, and then when they came after him to pay his bills, he would leave and go to a new college and a new college and a new college. So he never really got a full-on diploma, although he did manage to go to a diploma mill in Kansas City. I never heard about that. Have you guys heard about diploma mills?
Yeah, diploma mills are basically, they just kind of give out diplomas for... It's all they're there for is to give out diplomas, and they're not really worth the paper they're printed on, almost, really.
Yeah, that's essentially everything it is. In 1912, this guy goes to St. Louis. Bennett Medical College is refusing to give him his medical records because he hasn't paid his bills off, so he goes to the shady diploma mill, and he buys an eclectic medical university diploma, which he operates under until 1915. So basically, the guy gets a fake doctor's degree, and he goes around trying to cure people. He meets a guy named James E. Crawford sometime after 1915, and they open up their own practice called the Greenville Electromedic Doctors. And what they do is advertise to men suffering from a dip in their manly vigor. And they promise to give them better boners and better libido with the simple injection for $25, which basically is like $600 in today's money. And all it is like neon-colored, food-colored water. And they just inject it into their arms and tell them, yeah, now go enjoy your boners. After 2 months, they skip town. They don't pay their utility bills, their clothing bills, their pharmaceutical bills. And later on, that catches up to them, and they both go to jail. They get out of jail. And somehow or another, this guy, it's kind of like Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can. He just goes to work for one doctor's office to the next, to the next, to the next. Somehow he ends up getting to be a doctor for the Army. And he starts treating people for, mild ailments. He suffers a mental breakdown and gets kicked out of the Army. In 1915, he does actually officially graduate, supposedly, from the Kansas City Eclectic Medical University, allowing him to practice medicine in 8 different states. And here's where we get to the good stuff, the nuts and bolts of this story. He takes a job as the doctor for the Swift & Company meat processing plant, where he patches minor wounds on the people working there and studies animal physiology. It's here where Dr. Brinkley learns that the animals going to the slaughterhouse, of all of them, the healthiest are the goats. And he can't help but admire the sexual vigor of all the goats who are basically getting it on and just boning anything that'll walk by, even though they're on their way to the slaughterhouse. So, in 1918, he opens up a 16-room clinic in Milford, Kansas, where he starts to treat people for the flu. Everybody says, oh my God, you're the best doctor in the world making house calls. Everybody's getting cured of the flu. We should keep you around a little bit longer. Now, here's where it gets great. At his clinic, he begins to perform different operations where he can claim to restore male vitality and fertility by implanting the testicular glands of goats into his male patients. And essentially, this guy comes in one day. He's like, "Look, Doc, I can't get a good boner anymore. I think I'm suffering from some ED." And the doctor says, "Well, if you had a couple goat buck nuts in you, you wouldn't have that problem anymore. Those boys can just bang it out for hours." And then the guy doesn't take him serious at first. Then he says, "Wait, yeah, give me some of those. Put some goat nuts in my scrotum." So he pretty much does that. He opens up the guy's scrot. He inserts some goat gonads. And then the guy comes back after he's healed up and says, "Man, I am popping chubbies left and right. My wife and I have never had a better sex life. And I feel like I felt when I was in my 20s. So this guy goes on to, for $750 per operation, he will cut you open, shove a couple goat nuts inside of you, and let you go on your way. Which sounds like everything would be great, but the problem was he started using the wrong kind of goats, and the patients and the patients' wives would report that after they healed, they could not help but smell barnyard smell on the men.
That's bad.
And their genitalia smelled like a sweaty farm animal. But yeah, basically it says, following the operations from the crude surgeries, the patient's body would typically just absorb the goat gonad as foreign matter and basically just destroy it on its own. The organs were never accepted as part of the human body since they were simply placed in the body, never attached, just floating loosely in the male's testicle sac or the abdomen of women who were complaining that they were infertile. And he would implant these near the ovaries. Unsurprisingly, in the light of all his questionable medical training, 75% completion rate, which is less than reputable for doctors back then. He frequently operated while intoxicated, with less than sterile operating environments, and some patients suffered from infections, and an undetermined amount of them died. And later on, he got sued for more than a dozen wrongful deaths between 1930 and 1941. I love it. But as a funny, I guess I was going to say joke, but it's serious. The wife of one of his first goat transplants called the doctor and said, "I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy," and properly so, they named the boy Billy. Yeah, and he, of course, doing so well, he started sending out mail blitzes everywhere, and he would portray the treatments as basically saying, "I can turn hapless men into the ram that am with every lamb." Ooh. And which later he went to jail because he, suffered from mail fraud. So kind of like old Dr. Baker. But essentially there were other problems too. The kickbacks from the operation allowed him to get more money. More money gave him a bigger head. But he did have one more fleeting great idea. Because the body was rejecting the goat testicles, he could use human testicles as well. He would implant the genuine human glands or testicles from prisoners he castrated who were on death row.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know how you get cohorted into doing that. But yeah, basically, sucks to be you, nerd. Now give me your balls. So there you have it. He actually died not too long after that. He suffered a blood clot in his leg. Surgery was still pretty shitty back then. He got a really bad infection and ended up dying after he had like 3 heart attacks and a stroke. And because of all the lawsuits, he died a very poor man. And also the man had 3 wives and like 6 kids, and he left every single one of them. So there you go. That's the tale of John R. Brinkley.
Your fucking 2-bit goat doctor ain't got nothing on my monkey testicle doctor, so let's get this party started.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is the true account, or maybe it's the semi-true account, or maybe it's just Mermaids and nuts, yeah. Or maybe it's just a batshit crazy story, which is what we like to do on this show, okay? Batshit crazy stories. But we'll leave it up to you, listeners. We'll let you be the judge. So let's stick to the facts and talk about the true story of Dr. Voronoff's plan to use monkey testicles to make us all immortals. Yeah. That's right. The search for a fountain of youth has driven humankind down some strange avenues of inquiry, but there may be none stranger than the work of Dr. Sergei Voronoff, known in his time as the monkey gland expert. Voronoff believed that human aging could be halted or even reversed by transplanting monkey testicles into people, and that was among the most down-to-earth of his ideas. Voronoff was born in Russia in 1866 and moved to France at the age of 18, becoming a citizen in 1895. There, he studied under Alexis
Carroll, a surgery and transplant pioneer who won a Nobel Prize for his work on sewing blood vessels. Now, see, this is where we kind of differ, Sean. So your doctor or fake doctor would just like cut people open and shove nuts in there.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Voronoff actually learned how to graft the testicles onto the human so that the body wouldn't reject them. Now, in 1889, he began working with experimental psychologist Charles Edouard Brown Sicard. And this is where I was making that joke earlier, the guy with 4 names, so let's keep it short and call him Dr. Frenchie.
Dr. Frenchie.
Dr. Frenchie was interested in the rejuvenating effects of animal glands and began experimenting on himself the very same year by, get this, injecting his body with a serum containing crushed up matter from the testicles of guinea pigs and dogs.
Yep.
Gross.
Yeah, but we can actually take a good guess on what happened. Jack and shit. And,
Well, he claimed that he felt like he regained all the physical stamina of his vigor youth.
Blah, 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 yakety schmackety. Nobody took him serious.
Yakety schmackety,
And Voronoff decided you just can't inject this shit into your body, you moron. You got to graft the testicles on there. So he decided to delve into the science of grafting testicles onto things.
Yeah.
Later in 1896, he moves to Egypt, and he turns his eyes on the abundance of eunuchs down there.
Uh-huh.
And in a paper republished in 2007, Dr. Voronoff noted that the eunuchs' obesities, lack of body hair, broad pelvises, and their flaccid muscles, lethargic movements, memory problems, and lowered intelligence, all of these deficiencies were to be blamed on their lack of testicles, a loss he assumed robbed the eunuchs of their magical glandular excretions. So after being in Egypt for 14 years and studying eunuchs, he then returned to working on animals, transplanting organs, tissues, bones between animal species, and working with the open-minded College de France.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go down the rabbit hole a little bit further, and eventually he starts to put, in one case, he grafted a chimpanzee thyroid into a young French idiot in 1915, and claimed that over the next year, his mental facilities returned to normal. And in the 20s, he's like, you know what? I got the retarded kid, being normal now with a chimpanzee gland.
Mm-hmm.
Let's switch to nuts. And that's what he did.
As one is known to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Voronoff says that the sex gland stimulates cerebral activity as well as muscular energy and erroneous passion.
Yeah.
It pours into the stream of blood, a species of vital fluid which restores the energy of all the cells, and it spreads happiness. So in other words, to Dr. Monkey Nuts, the process of taking healthy sexual gland tissues, such as bits of monkey testicles, and sewing them onto testicles of aging humans, was to inject their body with youth itself. Yeah! So that's what he did.
You're a little too excited
Now,
about that.
his first monkey testicle to man surgery occurred in July of 1920 and was a success. If you actually look it up on the internet, you can see a picture of the man before and a picture of the man after. And, he looks like he's rejuvenated. Like, he's happy. He's got, the monkey scrotum in him.
Well, back in Egypt, they said the same thing about the experiment with a ram. They had a really old ram who was kind of just flaccid and couldn't get it up anymore and hated his own life. And they cut out his testicles and put in the testicles of a young lamb. And they claimed that the wool got thicker, his sexual vigor returned, and he was once again a bright, shiny
ramrod.
buck. Yeah.
Yeah. So Voronoff claims that this procedure could do everything from return youthful energy and everything Sean just said, to curing people from being senile and schizophrenia, to radically prolonging life.
Prolonging?
Now, how long did, or how much did you say that your doctor charged for his goat testicle implants?
Oh, what did I say? About $600 right now. Yeah, about $150
and then he died
back then.
And then he died like a poor man, had like 6 wives.
No, he had 3. You're terrible at math.
Yeah, whatever. Well,
Go back to kindergarten.
Yeah, well, Nut Monkey Doctor here was at this point charging 10,000 euros for his surgery and had done 300 thus far, and ends up buying a castle in Grimaldi, Italy in 1925.
Damn.
Which is a classic mad scientist move. And in the castle builds a hospital ward and a monkey farm so that he has instant access to monkey nuts, and continues his surgeries, eventually reaching 1,000 surgeries during this period.
Damn,
Now,
Daniel.
Yeah. And after a while, he started administering this testicle graft to young sheep. So he would take like the monkey nuts and graft them onto like sheep, which essentially created a race of super sheep. And he theorized that now that he had these super sheep running around, that he could take those testicles, graft them onto, to people, and create Ubermen, giants with increased size, strength, and lifespan, and even hints at the possibility of immortality, saying that in theory, a human could live for as long as he could keep the gland healthy.
Huh.
And World War II breaks out at the end of all this. He tries to escape from the Nazi-occupied territory. Later, he returns to his castle to find it destroyed and dies in 1951, an old man. He wasn't broke, wasn't poor, continued on doing surgery and other things, but he just died an old man.
Well.
So to sum it up, guys, between 1920 and 1940, some 2,000 monkey man testicle rejuvenations were administered everywhere from France to India and beyond. And in the modern view, the procedure seems somewhat ridiculous, but his legacy as a real-life balls-to-the-wall mad scientist is truly enthralling.
Balls to the wall.
Balls to the walls. That's awesome.
Busted that nut!
Well,
That's all I got.
Speaking of busting a nut, I have one more story that I thought I'd sneak up on you guys.
All right, let's do it.
It's not about animal nuts. It's just about good old-fashioned human nuts. But
Oh, nuts.
I came across this story. Oh, Rob. I came across a story about a shop teacher at a high school, right? And this guy's alone grading papers one night, and he knows it's going to be a late one, and he's not going to make it home to his wife, but he's getting kind of randy, and he thinks, well, I'm here, there's nobody else around, there's no kids here, what the hell, I'm going to go rub one out.
That's a bad decision.
Yeah, just wait. He thinks, man, I'm kind of bored with old Angelina Jolie, and I'm really getting tired of playing Hand Theft Auto. San Andreas. See, Rob, I can make puns too.
Yours are terrible.
And he thinks, boy, I've always wanted to stick it in that belt sander over there. So he's using one of these belt sanders, right? And I don't know if you guys have seen them before, but they're like a vertical belt. So one side goes up, one side goes down, right? And he, if I remember correctly, he takes like a paper towel roll, and he inserts himself in the paper towel roll, and he starts gently buffing the paper towel roll against this belt sander. And of course, he's behind it, so the belt sander is going upwards. And he's starting to get heavy into it, and he's starting to have a really good time. And he's being careful because he doesn't want to slip and maybe, sand all the way through that paper towel roll. And he just starts really getting into it, and he thrusts a little bit too hard, and the belt sander belt catches him by the scrotum, picks him up off the ground, up over the belt sander, and slams him down on the tabletop of the belt sander, and then he gets cut. He gets loose and falls down to the ground. And he's thinking, "Holy shit! What the hell just happened? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!" And he stands up and he's checking himself out, and he's like, I think I'm okay. But why do my fucking pants feel so cold? Is there a draft?" And basically, the belt sander had ripped open his scrotum and actually caught one of the vas deferens and launched his testicle off of his body clear across the shop room. And as you do, he runs over, he finds a testicle magically, he, takes the little air blower and blows off all the sawdust and everything, and he thinks, shit, there's no way I'm going to go home and tell my wife what the hell happened, and I'm probably going to lose my job. So he just puts the nut back into his scrotum, and he takes the stapler and he staples his nutsack shut. And he cleans up everything, and he goes home like nothing ever happened. And he wakes up in the middle of the night. Somehow he's able to hide this from his wife. He just comes in the door and he's like, honey, I'm really tired, so I'm going to go to bed. He wakes up in the middle of the night. His ball sack is swelled to the size of a volleyball. He goes to the ER and they have to remove both testicles. And he has a severe infection. He did not die, though he did contract a mild case of tetanus.
Jesus
and
Christ.
He now has no testicles nor a job at the high school.
I mean, at what point do you think, maybe I should not do this? Maybe, I don't know. That's just.
I think it's the point where he thinks, I think I'm going to rub one out in the high school.
Yeah,
Actually,
I remember reading a similar story about a construction worker that did the same thing. That he had just broken up and it was like, single, wasn't getting any action. And, the belt sander that has like the handle that you can, like the little portable one.
Ooh.
And he was on the site and he would, put it on something and then like ride the handle. And he was getting too much into it. And he slipped, and then the belt sander was still going, and it caught his nuts and just like ripped the sack completely open, like both nuts. And basically, he did the same thing. Like he was freaking out, so he just like stapled them back together, and then drove to the ER, and then was like, "Hey, had an accident on the job.
Hey, boo boo.
Lucky my favorite jeans didn't get torn."
I don't know. That story sounds like
believe
it's,
it, guys,
it's
but
made up.
I don't
This
know,
teacher
man.
story that about the nuts getting ripped off. That just seems like a made up story.
Well, I read it on the internet, Rob, so it has to be true. Actually, no, I take it back. It was in a book I read in high school.
5 things not to do in shop class. Masturbate on a belt sander.
Yeah, right.
I think that's all
Masturbating
five
on a
of
belt
them right
sander
there
was the
together.
first 4 things. What's that?
I think that's all 5 things put together. Not to masturbate with a belt sander in high school. There's at least
At
3
least
things
4
there you
of the
should be
top
doing
5.
all together.
That's true. Yeah. The book had 1 page. Don't do this. Well, I think that's enough.
That's a
talk
nut?
about nuts for this
enough?
episode. Yeah. So, what do you guys want to plug? Preston, go ahead and plug something.
So remember how I always talk about if anybody leaves us a review on iTunes, I'll read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually had somebody leave us a review, and I'm going to read it as soon as I get it pulled up. So,
Nice.
Rob, plug shit.
Okay, so first of all, this episode was brought to you by Planters Nuts.
I should plug Pixelated Radio, my video game podcast with Mark, Corey, and Rich. And we all do a podcast about video games. Also, Rich does a podcast about racing, Sports Car Unleashed. You can look that up. And our friend Big Steven from Oh Indeed podcast with Brady. And they do a video game podcast as well. So, yeah, I think that's all the plugs. Oh, and Mark's podcast, Pixelated Sausage Cast. And he's also been streaming a lot of games on Twitch, and I think we're all going to do a little more streaming, I think, me and Corey as well. So, if Sean would play something else besides fucking Binding of Isaac, he would be allowed. Also, Sean's not allowed to play Ghost Recon. That is all.
Sean does just fine at Ghost Recon because he discovered that you can kill all the llamas, you can melee the roosters, and you can also cause all the village people to jump off a cliff.
So what you're saying, you like to fuck sheep and beat your cock.
Well, I didn't say either of those 2 things, but we did talk about those things tonight, so you're close.
Yeah. And eventually I'll get back on Xbox Live when I finish Dragon Age.
There you go. That's a threat, not a promise.
So let's read our review titled Great Show from B. Bruce, dated March 3rd,
No, wait, does anybody know who B. Bruce is?
2017.
No.
Okay.
No,
cool.
nobody knows a B. Bruce. So
As
this is
avid
like,
listener.
yeah, like an authentic review here, okay? 5 stars. After the roundtable show, I had to review. Great podcast. Keep it up. Thank you, B. Bruce.
Yeah.
And we will.
Thanks,
B. Bruce, that show wasn't that great. I wasn't on it. So hopefully you went back and listened to our catalog where you can see what the real podcast sounds like. Because I guarantee it's not 5 stars.
I don't know, man. You know, we're just 3 humble guys. One of us has been doing this a while, and the other 2 idiots are just, finally taking the training wheels off. So, thank you for that review. Thank you. Well, what's everybody been watching? Anybody watching anything good lately?
I just heard that Netflix is Iron Fist. Is that what it is?
Uh-huh.
It's getting
Yeah,
fucking
the Iron Fist.
panned. It's sitting at a 33 on Metacritic.
Really?
That bad?
No, that sucks.
Yeah. I thought the previews looked good, so I don't know. I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
If I ever stop playing
Iron
Zelda.
Fist is
Speaking of which,
Iron Fist is kind of a tertiary character in the Marvel Universe, but I mean,
Yeah.
shit, they've hit 3 home runs, man. I think they'd do a pretty good job with Iron Fist as well.
yeah, maybe.
I hope so. Well, if anybody's looking for a really good show, Spotless on Netflix is pretty fun. There's 1 season so far, and it's kind of a Dexter meets Breaking Bad. It's pretty good. And if no, what?
I watched the show. I was waiting for you to get done. I thought you were done.
Oh, sorry, man.
That's okay. Cool. Go
for
ahead.
it. Well, I was going to say, also on FX right now, if you're not watching Legion, you should probably watch Legion on FX. It's fucking fantastic. Man, it's such a trip. Such a trip, and I love it. And it kind of leaves you thinking, what the hell is going on every time you watch it, but it's pretty fantastic. And I won't spoil it, who Legion is in the Marvel Universe, but supposedly this is going to be the X-Men Universe's version of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in a way, so there's going to be their network TV show that ties into the X-Men universe. And shit, so far, it's better than probably 75% of the X-Men movies that have come out so far, so...
If it ever comes on Netflix, I might watch it there. But I just don't feel like watching network shows.
And, I'll say that it's definitely a show where, like, I've got the patience for it, but I think it could be enjoyed more if you watched it, just binged on it, knocked it out in a couple days. So,
I watched a show on Netflix that's on, I think, Sci-Fi now. It's called The Magicians. And I really enjoyed that first season. Okay, so the kind of premise is that there's this hidden college where they teach magicians how to do magic, or they've got to have a talent for it. But
you're thinking of Hogwarts.
Well, exactly. That's what the show is. It's like if you took Harry Potter and crossed it with Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh, really?
It's pretty cool. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's amazing television, but I've really enjoyed the first season. And the way it ended, I was struggling to find the first episode of season 2 so I could see what happened. So,
oh, really?
You know what Rob didn't enjoy? Beastmaster.
Yeah, that fucking show was terrible. Ugh. If I wanted to watch Ninja Warriors, I'd watch Ninja Warriors.
Yeah, I didn't finish the second episode yet, so yeah, I don't fault you for that.
You were like, you guys all gotta watch. You gotta watch this, guys. You gotta watch it. And I was like, really? I don't think it's my thing. Oh man, it's got video game stuff like in it. I'm like,
I figured it'd be a way to cross both of our universes together.
You know what you guys need to watch? You guys really need to watch My Sex Robot. We can all watch My Sex Robot and talk about it on the show. Hey, honey, Sean suggested we should watch My Sex Robot so we can talk about it on the show. What? You want to go ahead and do that tonight? Thank you, Sean. I've wasted an hour of my life.
Pretty sure you pushed Rob to watch that a lot more than I did, but...
Rob, don't listen.
Well, there we go.
Jeffrey started watching Raising Hope on Netflix. It's like four or 5 seasons. Like a little comedy show about a family that they get pregnant on accident and they raise a son, and then he accidentally knocks up a murderer, and then she gets pregnant on death row, and then after she has the baby, she gets fried. So then he's raising the baby.
Fuck?
It
sounds just depressing.
It's a funny
as shit.
No, it's fucking hilarious because they're like just backwards fucking rednecks, and they're like,
you're not making it sound any better.
Yeah, you should just watch it.
I think I'm gonna watch My Sex Robot instead.
Yeah. Raising Hope, 5 stars. My Sex Robot, half a star.
Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Join us next time for our 25th episode. It's our silver anniversary.
Oh,
ta-da! And I guess
once they, you know what they say, like once you hit 25, you're golden for life.
I think it's silver, actually. You big dummy. But there you go. Gold is the 50th. One last parting thought too. I'm trying to put together like a listener story episode. So if anybody's got a listener story you want to
have stories.
Oh, dude, no, I haven't been telling you guys, but I've got about 5 so far. So put that in your pixelated pipe and smoke it.
5 listeners or just 5 stories?
Well, that's open to interpretation. But yeah, if you guys have a story that you want us to read, A, you don't have to have your name included. You can stay anonymous. B, listen to the end of the episode. You can find out how to reach us via email or our phone line. I'd say email it to us. That might be easier because I'll probably reread them. Unless you want to record yourself telling the story, in which you can email that to us at the email listed at the end of the show. But yeah, I'm going to put together a special episode probably within the next month or so and just have it be just listener stories that have been submitted. So good stuff there. But anyway, thanks for being here, guys, and we'll see you next time around.
Adios.
Adios.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. You have 2 ways. 1, email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, we have that set up too. Dial us at 707-523-4263. Again, that's 707-523-4263. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
How do I go from robots to fish?
Swimmingly, I hope.
Goo-hoo.
Cocaine's a lot easier to give up when you're on heroin, so I understand.
I don't like either of those things.
I make them.
You poor deaf dumb idiot.